Welcome to SJS Arts. So today I'm gonna do another bracket battle episode, and this time we are gonna talk about my favorite Japanese films. I have 32 Japanese films, all of my favorites, going against each other. And I have more Japanese films that are also my favorites, but as this bracket website only allows me to do 32 in a single bracket, I chose 32 Japanese films from my favorites list, and they are gonna have a bloody battle with each other. And as always, these matchups have been shuffled, so I didn't choose them myself, and I haven't think about these matchups before starting this video, so we'll see how it goes. I think this will be a very tough battle as I absolutely love Japanese cinema. This year actually has been all about Japanese cinema for me. I always feel like watching Japanese films, so yeah, this will be a tough but entertaining battle. Yeah, and I think this battle might be a bit unfair to some of these films because, of course, some of these I have watched more than once, but some of them I have only watched once, and some of them I remember better, and then others I have forgotten many details about them. So we'll see how this goes. But we are gonna start with a very interesting battle, and it's between Terayama's Pastoral to Die in the Country and Kobayashi's Harakiri. I have mentioned both of these films in the past. Both of them are big favorites. I've seen Harakiri a few times. Pastoral to Die in the Country I've seen a couple of times. Yeah, and I created this list too, so you can see the posters and little info about the films. So this is Japanese New Wave, a very experimental film by a very experimental filmmaker. I think this shot that you see here on Letterboxd kind of says all that you need to know about the film. It has crazy colors. It's all about the visuals. There isn't like it isn't that plot or narrative focused story. It's all about the visuals, the atmosphere, and all the weird stuff that happens in the film. But there are of course themes and plot there too, and you can see here the letterboxd summary. Although it doesn't tell you that much, but I think it's good that it doesn't tell you that much. And this is another film that you can watch on the Rare Film website that I have mentioned, so you should check it out there. And I think sometimes Terayama's films are also on YouTube if you're interested in watching them. And I know the guy who runs Radiance label, Fran Simeoni, I think is his name. I know he's a big fan of this film and Terayama, so you never know, this might someday come out on Radiance. I really hope so, but we'll see. But I absolutely love this film. I don't necessarily understand it that well, but it's not about understanding it, it's about feeling it and having fun with the eye candy that you have in the film. Yeah. I'm always surprised that this has like fairly decent number of ratings on Letterboxd and stuff, even though this is a film that I feel like people don't really talk about as much, but at least it has some kind of a following on Letterboxd and even a nice average rating of 4.2. Yeah. Definitely check this one out and other Terayama films out if you can. He's one of my favorite directors. But then we have Harakiri, which I have talked about many times. It's one of my top 10 films of all time, so you can probably already guess that which film is gonna win. This has actually recently become the number one film on Letterboxd, which is very cool to see. It definitely deserves it. Um, I don't feel like I need to talk about it now because I've talked about it so many times, but it's a perfect film and very important for my journey. So I'm gonna go with Harakiri. Oh, I need to start the tournament. I always forget that. Yeah, but Harakiri is gonna win this. Yeah. Then we have Kiki's delivery service that I talked about a bit in a recent video, the SJS Talks Art episode 3 video. And then we have Shinji Aoyama's Eureka, which I have to say is a film that I don't remember that much about. I just remember that I it absolutely blew me away then, and that I thought that it's a masterpiece, but I don't remember it in a very detailed way. So I think this is a bit unfair matchup due to that, but I really need to rewatch it. I have a digital copy of it, so I can rewatch it whenever I feel like it. But and it's another film like Pastoral to Die in the Country that really deserves a great Blu-ray release. But yeah, this is my favorite Miyazaki film. I also watched a couple others after this that I hadn't seen before, and been watching lots of anime recently. But this is my favorite one. It's so charming, it's so beautiful, both in terms of the story and also the animation and also the music. Yeah, and then can I'll just show you Eureka. I don't really have anything interesting to say about it at this moment, but you can read the plot synopsis there. It's a very long movie, a modern film from 2000. I don't really know much about Shinji Aoyama. I think this is the only film by him that I have seen. Yes. So he has made some of these other films that I don't know whether they are good or not, but I would assume that at least some of them are good. Yeah. But I'll go with Kiki's delivery service because I remember it better, but I know this is stupid. I should have rewatched Eureka already, but I'll go with Kiki's delivery service. Well, these films I remember well. So we have Hana-bi by Takeshi Kitano, which I've seen a couple of times. Then we have Sansho the Bailiff by Kenji Misaguchi, which I have also seen a couple of times. And these are both big favorites of mine. So Hana-bi is probably my favorite Kitano film, although I really love Kikujiro too, but I think this is definitely a better film than Kikujiro probably. And this is a perfect example of Kitano style. We have those painting like shots, that beautiful atmosphere. Joe Hisai's score, just like the Kiki's delivery service had to. Um, yeah, he worked a lot with Kitano as he did with Studio Ghibli. Yeah. And tonally, this is very interesting. Again, it has those beautiful moments in there, but also has flashes of like ultra violence and stuff, and very dramatic scenes and very intense scenes. So there are lots of different tones here, but as Kitano often does, he knows how to mix different types of tones and genres together, which is one of the things that I really like about his films. But I also love the painterly shots, like I already said, I think, and yeah. And Kitano, I really like him as an actor too. He isn't like the most versatile actor necessarily, but I really like his acting. And this has a phenomenal ending too. Think that the ending is so great. Yeah, I don't really have any flaws with this film. I think it's perfect. Yeah. And then Sansho the Bailiff, one of the big masterpieces of cinema history. So yeah, I also have mentioned and talked about this a bit in other videos. I think I talked about it in for a few minutes in one of the 50s video, the decade video. Yeah, because that was the time when I just rewatched it. But this is about human suffering, human cruelty, human behavior, uh, human condition in general. It's a very hard-hitting film, very hard to watch at moments because there are some very tough emotions that you have to go through when you see this human suffering on screen. And this is a perfect example of Kenji Misaguchi's beautiful cinematography, especially the framing. I really love the framing of the shots, the angles. Yeah, he's one of the big visual masters of this era of cinema, both in Japan but also internationally. Yeah, many great performances here as well. The ending, just like in Hana-bi, is also very great, quite heartbreaking. I've said this, I think, in other videos that if I had to do a sight and sound palette, right at this moment, I would probably put this in the top 10. So it's that level of good. And in terms of my like pure favorites as well, I think it's in my top 50. And I feel like it will probably go up and up in the future. Yeah, just beautiful humanist cinema. Yeah, this sums it up well. A film of unparalleled beauty by the great Japanese master Kenji Mizoguchi. Yeah, and I think this is Mizoguchi's greatest achievement as well. But he made many other great films, and I think we have another Mizoguchi film on the bracket battle too. So, but I'll have to go with Sansho the Bailiff. Um, but Hana-bi would have won against many of these other films. I love it a lot. So yeah. Then we have Picnic versus Law of Exposure. So Picnic I talked about also in that As Chess Talks art video where I also talked about Kiki's delivery service. But this is a Shunshi Iwai film from 1996 about these mental patients and their adventures when they go outside. But they also show us them in the mental institution. Yeah, very weird film, but also quite comedic, also very beautiful, also very existential. So this is also a good example of a film that definitely mixes different things together, but it does it very well. And I think I like this more than many other people, like I said in the Just Talk Art video, but I absolutely love this one and such a great movie and my favorite Shunshi Iwai film so far. And I think Tony also watched this after I talked about it and he gave it high rating as well, 4.5, I think. So I'm glad that Tony liked the film too. And again, I believe this is on YouTube, so if you want to watch it, you can. And it's only 72 minutes, so very short and very entertaining movie. Yeah. Then Law of Exposure. I've talked about Sion Sono quite a few times, but he's my favorite director working today. Our second favorite because Kaurismäki is still working too. And Lynch, we don't know whether he's gonna make a film, so I guess he could be counted as working today, although we don't really know. So yeah, but this is to me probably top five films of the 21st century. It's that level of good. And another film that mixes different things together. Like it has that some like Tarantino-esque craziness to it, but it also has themes about religion and sin, relationships between parents and their children, and many things. So it kind of mixes highbrow and lowbrow together in a perfect way. Yeah, it's a 4 hour film, but it doesn't feel like a 4 hour film. It's probably the fastest 4 hour film ever created. And it's the type of 4 hour film that you want to watch like in one go, and it doesn't feel long, even though if you watch it in one go. Yeah. I've watched it a couple of times and absolutely loved it both times. And yeah, what a wonderful film that you should watch if you haven't already. Yeah, great stuff, great stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Love Exposure, but I absolutely love Picnic too. So yeah. Then we have two Japanese new wave films. We have Nagisa Oshima's Death by Hanging. Oshima, perhaps the most important new wave director. It's hard to say. Imamura is very important too. So, and then we have another new wave director, Kochi Wakamatsu, with Go Go Second Time version. I have to say I remember Death by Hanging better than Go Go Second Time version. Like I remember the style of Go Go Second Time version really well, and I exactly remember what type of film it is, but I don't remember like exactly like every single scene of it. Yeah, but it's a great taboo breaking movie. I mean, I need to show the posters, but yeah. So this might be on the Rare Film website too. I cannot remember. Yeah, but yeah, this is along the lines of the Yoshida and Terayama films as well. Crazy, quite violent film if I remember correctly, and if you read the synopsis, it's pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, very interesting stuff as well. Then we had Death by Hanging. It's a very political film. I mean, all the new wave films are very political, but even more so this one. It's about the capital punishment, but it's also about like governmental corruption. It's about racism, and it's a political satire. So this is actually a funny film in many ways. Yeah, Nakisa Oshima was one of those directors who never made the same film twice. He always tried out something new, and he liked to evolve from film to film, which I really appreciate about his films. And this is my personal favorite, so that's why I have it here. And I really wish Criterion would bring this to the UK, but I will have to import it someday if it doesn't come to the UK. But you can watch that on Criterion channel, I believe. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Death by Hanging. But if I rewatched both of these films today, who knows? I might go with Coco second time version, but I'm pretty sure I would go with Death by Hanging still, and it would be a great double bill with films like Harakiri or The Human Condition. Yeah. Then we have another new wave film, Silence Has No Wings by Katsua Kuroki. Then we have Hiroshi Inagaki's Samurai Trilogy. So Silence Has No Wings is from my favorite year of cinema history. I watched it a couple of times. So I think this synopsis is really good that it's following the journey of a caterpillar along the Japanese islands from Nagasaki to Hokkaido. This allegorical and oblique first feature film by Kuroki depicts in exquisite images a series of encounters and life's turning points. Yeah, I think that's a really good synopsis. It's all about life and the passage of time, and it does that in a very beautiful, beautiful way, very touching way. But of course, as it is a new wave film, it doesn't feel like a regular film. Yeah, yeah, it definitely feels like a new wave film. I believe this is the only Kuroki film I have seen. Yeah, but it's a beautiful film, very beautiful film. I can't remember whether this was on the rare film site, but I believe it was. Yeah, yeah, great movie, a masterpiece. Then what was the? Yeah, we have the Samurai Trilogy. I put the first one here. So this is about Miyamoto Musashi, famous samurai and philosopher. And again, if you've read the Vagabond manga or if you have read Eiichi Yoshikawa's Musashi Miyamoto, you know the character there, but of course all of these different versions of the story are a bit different. I mean, I haven't read the Yoshikawa huge novel, but I want to read at some point. But this is a bit different than the Vagabond manga, for example, even though they're a bit similar too. But this is starring Toshiro Mifune. Yeah, and I think there is something for everybody in this trilogy. There is a love triangle there, lots of romance, but there are also samurai fights and adventure, great characters. These are well shot films and beautiful films. So I think many people would really like these ones. You don't have to be like an art house lover or hardcore cinephile to like these films, I think. Yeah. But I'm gonna go with Silence Has No Wings. Yeah, but I really love the Samurai trilogy too. So then we have this Transient Life Against Angel's Egg. So this is the first film of the Buddhist trilogy. I rewatched the Buddhist trilogy earlier this year, and what a crazy experience it was. Once again, these are films that I mean, they are so hard to talk about. I think these would be easier to talk about kind of in the moment when you are watching them, but they are so hard to kind of talk about like months after you've watched them. They are so complex and experimental and weird, provocative. Yeah. And this film is about incest, as many of these Japanese films of the era were. Oh, it's apparently on Mubi if you want to watch it, by the way. This is a masterpiece, so you should watch it. It's Mubi US, but you can also put VPN to the US and then watch it on Mubi. Yeah. And you can also get these on Arrow Blu-ray. But a very provocative masterpiece that I love to death. Yeah. But very challenging films. Very challenging films. Then we have what I probably consider to be the best animated film ever. and it's Angel's Egg by Mamoru Oshii. He's the same guy who made the Ghost in the Shell movies, or did he make all of them? But at least the first one, I think the second one too. So I've only seen the first one. Yeah, you have the second one and then the 2.0, and yeah, I've only watched Ghost in the Shell and Angel's Egg, but I want to watch some of these others too, especially the sequels to the Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, but I think this shot says a lot about the film. It's a very depressing film. It has lots of Christian and religious symbolism to it. I believe this one is also free to watch on YouTube. At least that's how I watched it, I think. So go ahead if you're interested. It's only 71 1 minutes, but the animation in this is it's so beautiful, very very dark, very haunting. But yeah, be beautiful in a very dark way. Yeah, I need to watch this again, even though it hasn't been that long since I watched it. But it was so good, so good. I believe Tony also watched this one too recently, so and I'm glad that he ended up loving it too. So yeah, and I think this would be a great film to show the people who say that animated films are only for children, and that animated films cannot be complex or interesting or actual art. I mean, of course, those opinions are really fucking stupid, but but it's better to fight those opinions with showing people these beautiful films rather than shouting them down, I guess. But yeah, this would be one to show to those people. Yeah. But I'll go with this Transient Life because it's just such a masterpiece. But I mean, both of these films are such masterpieces. So yeah, and I feel like these are both films that will just keep growing in my estimation the more times I watch them. There's so much to unpack with both films. Yeah. Then we have Koreeda's Nobody Knows, which is might be it's my favorite or second favorite Koreeda probably. There are quite a few Koreeda films on my favorites list, but this one is probably the one that I can kind of relate to most because I had to spend lots of time alone, like around when I was this age and like year and two older. Like I spent like half of the days every week like alone. So not quite as much as these kids here, but a lot still. So I had to learn to take care of myself very young. Yeah, which I don't mind to be honest. I think it would be sad for many people, but I kind of as an introvert like the fact that I could be alone a lot. So, but of course there was some aspects of it that weren't as nice. Yeah, but but yeah, so I can really relate to this film. So I kind of have a very strong emotional connection to it. But I have that with many other Koreeda films because he's that type of director that really pulls the heartstrings. I think this is such a beautiful looking film too. Koreeda just shoots these beautiful still shots, and I just love how the shots are framed and how he chooses the like streets and the buildings and how he shoots them and how he puts them into the frame. I really enjoy that. I think it's beautiful. It's exactly kind of my type of style. So yeah, great child performances as well. So I mean, you see that in many Koreeda films. I think that he knows how to work with children very well, kind of like Ozu did. So yeah, yeah, I'm glad that it's so highly rated in Letterboxd too. So yeah, a masterpiece. Highly recommend this to everybody. I think everybody could like this one. Then what was the other film? Oh, Kotoko. So this is my favorite Shinua Tsukamoto film. I actually finished watching Tsukamoto's Killing a couple hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago. I like that film too, but this is definitely by far my favorite Tsukamoto. I mean, Gemini is another favorite of mine, but this is my number one. And this I would also recommend to people very highly. It's about this young woman who has this terrible mental illness. She has these awful hallucinations. She doesn't know what is real and what is not real. And this is a very heartbreaking, very difficult watch. It's quite disturbing as well, but in a strange way. At parts, very beautiful as well. But I love these types of films, and I'm very interested in psychology. So these types of films that really explore the mind and the brain and emotions and everything like that, I tend to really like when those are done well. So yeah, great performance by Koko as well. Yeah, as Kotoko. Yeah, I think I had this even in the favorite decade of cinema in the top 5 of 2010. So that's how much I love it. I'm looking forward to rewatching it too, even though it's a very difficult watch. I think you could easily have like nightmares after watching that film. Yeah. So this is actually really tough. These are pretty much equal in my head, so I would probably have to rewatch both of them to say for certain. But I'll go with Kotoko. I'm feeling Kotoko more at this particular moment, but tomorrow I might go with nobody knows. Oh, then two samurai films: The Sword of Doom versus Seven Samurai. So this is one of my top 20 films. I mean, I've talked about this in so many videos and I have recommended it so many times, so maybe I shouldn't talk about it again to save some time, but it's on Criterion channel apparently, so go watch it. But yeah, one of Tatsuya Nakada's best performances. And then Seven Samurai is a masterpiece, great film, one of my favorites, although I don't consider it to be the greatest film of all time or one of the 10 greatest films of all time, but I think it's one of the greatest films of all time. But in my mind, there are better films than this, and even a film that came out in the same year called Sansho the Bailiff that we already talked about. I think is a better film than Seven Samurai, although of course, in the end, there isn't that many reasons to compare these two masterpieces. They are both such great films and very different films, and I guess in some ways also similar films, but yeah, of course these bracket battles are just stupid fun anyway. These are all great films that are compared here, but yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about this. I would just say the same things that everybody else says, that it's a very fast 3.5 hour film, great characters, great story. Yeah, but I'll have to go with the Sword of Doom. It's just such an important film for me. I could absolutely love it, and I'm always in the mood for watching it. So yeah. Most people would go with Seven Samurai, but I'm gonna go with the nihilistic Okamoto film, The Sword of Doom. Then we have another Misaguchi film, Crucified Lovers, and another Koreeda film, Like Father, Like Son. So this one I really need to rewatch. Oh, it's also from 1954, and I would probably say that I also prefer this to Seven Samurai, although it would be close. Yeah. But this is about these lovers who have to escape. But as it is a Misoguchi film, it's very very dark, not very happy, and it has that beautiful Misoguchi style that I already talked about. Yeah, to me this is one of Misoguchi's biggest masterpieces. Again, it's this, Shasho the Bailiff, Yugetsu, and The Life of Oharu. Those four are the best to me so far. Yeah, great film. Then what was the other one? Oh yeah, Like Father, Like Son. This one I talked about in the films to expand your horizons video or whatever it was called, the Chris Mohan challenge thing. Yeah. But this I rewatched earlier this year and I absolutely love this film. So emotional, so beautiful. Great story, great performances. Yeah. I'll go with Like Father, Like Son, but I feel like I might go with Crucified Lovers if I had rewatched it recently. So, although I might not go with it them, but I mean, the Crucified Lovers might be the better film, but Like Father, Like Son just has the emotion. Yeah. so many films to go, but I'll again go very fast with the other rounds, but I'll just talk about the films in the first round more so. We have Ozu's Tokyo Twilight versus the Human Condition trilogy. Probably know what I'm gonna go with already because of course you know that I love the Human Condition, but we don't wanna criticize this masterpiece because this is an absolutely incredible film. So this I find to be Ozu's most dark film, his darkest film. I was actually very surprised when I watched this. It just felt so kind of alienating, so dark, and even kind of Antonioni-esque actually. How he shoots some of the architecture, it kind of even the architecture and those shots. Some of the shots gave it that alienating Antonioni-esque feeling, and the story is very sad. And of course, also films in general often have sadness to them as well, and but they often have many happy moments and also happiness and melancholy and some more kind of neutral emotions to them too. But this feels mostly dark to me. And of course, it has a great cast with Setsuko Hara and Kishuru and others. Yeah, but another masterpiece, and I feel like through time, as I rewatch this more and more, this might end up becoming my favorite Osu film. That's how much I ended up loving it. So, but we'll see. Osu made so many masterpieces. So, and then the Human Condition, which would be my Sight and Sound uh, palette. Yeah, has a nice placing in the letterbox list as well. But another masterpiece, other masterpiece. Yeah, talked about that in the 10 films that remade me challenge. Yeah, but I'll have to go with the Human Condition. Then another Ozu film and a Sion Sono film. Yeah, so Why Don't You Play in Hell? I also talked about recently in the 6 films to expand your mind to. I believe this is my favorite film of the 2010s. I think I chose it in the recent favorite decade of cinema battle as my favorite, and if I had to choose a favorite right at this moment, I would choose this one. Yeah, very entertaining film. Then Tokyo Story, the first Ozu film that I watched, immediately blew me away. I have now seen it 3 times. Every single time it makes me very emotional. Always makes me reflect about my life and my relationships, both past relationships and current relationships. And yeah, and there are many interesting things about the relationships between the children, the grandchildren, and the grandparents. Like, of course, the first reaction of the viewer might be to kind of see the kids as very kind of selfish and kind of entitled and not as good people. But I remember Daisuke talked about it in one kind of discussion that he did with someone that there are certain details in the film that if you really pay attention to them, you might actually see the children's side more. Yeah, so that's very interesting. Yeah. But if you somehow haven't seen this already, go watch it. It's very interesting, very great film. I was kind of rooting for this to be the number one in the Sight and Sound 250, but it ended up being number four, I believe. So great placing still, but yeah. But I'll have to go with Why Don't You Play in Hell. Tokyo Story is the better film, but Why Don't You Play in Hell is just so much fun. But I absolutely love both of these films. Both are top 50-ish films, so then another Kitano film versus our first Mikio Naruse film. So we have Kikujiro, which is this beautiful, simple drama about this duo here. This duo I could have gone with for the movie on screen duos challenge as well, by the way. But this kid wants to go see his mother that he has never met, and this kind of random guy played by Kitano goes with him, and then they have this adventure. And the film is accompanied by a beautiful Joe Hisaishi score that I absolutely love, and beautiful cinematography as always with Kitano, and very heartfelt film. Again, very simple film. It might not be a masterpiece, but to me it's a like a big personal favorite. So I've given it 5 star, 5 stars, and I think this is another film that I could recommend to anybody. So yeah. Then Floating Clouds. I've mentioned this few times in my channel and talked about Mikio Naruse a bit, but and he's one of the classic Japanese directors, and I feel like there's a bit of that Misoguchi thing in his films, also a bit of that Ozu thing, but also he has his own style at the same time, so I don't want to downplay that. But this is my favorite Mikio Naruse film so far. It's on the Criterion channel if you want to watch it, and it has a beautiful performance by Hideko Takamine, one of the great Japanese actresses. Yeah, and this is post-war cinema, so it does like really comment on the war and the Japanese society of that time. Yeah. And this is another one that I haven't seen in a few years, so I have forgotten much about it, but yeah. But very, very great relationship drama situated in that turbulent period of history. Yeah. I'll go with Kikujiro, but Floating Clouds is the better film, definitely. But again, this is about favorites and not what is the best. And Kikujiro, I remember better, and I have seen it a couple of times, but Floating Clouds I've only seen once, so again, it's a bit of an unfair battle, as many of these are. Then we have Eros plus Massacre, which I have talked about recently, so I'm not really gonna go into it other than I'm gonna recommend it to you. An avant-garde, very experimental, very difficult, very political masterpiece by one of the great Japanese directors, Ichu Yoshida. Then we have one of Kurosawa's best films, Redbeard. This one I haven't seen in over 5 years, so I need to rewatch it. But great cast. I believe this was the last collaboration between Mifune and Kurosawa. And this is one of like Kurosawa's more emotionally resonant and more thematically dense films. And it doesn't kind of focus on the pure entertainment value as much as some of the other films like Yojimbo and Seven Samurai do. But yeah, I feel like after I've rewatched this like more times in the future, this might become even like a number one Kurosawa film. You never know. Yeah, I kind of feel like that I already loved it a lot 5 years ago. I feel like I will probably like this type of film now even more. So I really need to rewatch this one. Again, it's in the Criterion channel and it's also in the HBO Max or Max. These days it's only called Max, the US version of that. So yeah, great movie. But I'll go with Eros plus Massacre. Then another Yoshida film versus the great Teshigahara film. This one I've also mentioned many times and recommended it to you many times, that I've even used this shot as a thumbnail here. And yeah, but one of my top 20 films. Absolute masterpiece. Then Woman in the Dunes, along with The Face of Another, are the two Teshigahara masterpieces that I have seen. Um, yeah, this is one of the best Japanese films ever. It's all about the atmosphere, great performances as well. Yeah, what a film, what a film. There's a lot to analyze there as well, but I'm not gonna do that. So I haven't seen it in a few years, so yeah. But a masterpiece that I have seen a couple of times, so I'll go with Heroic Purgatory, but Woman in the Dunes is an absolute masterpiece too. Then the final battle of the matchup of the first round. It's Haru, which I talked about recently. a great movie that all of us cinephiles definitely can relate to. And also people who have had like intimate online relationships and stuff can definitely relate to that. Then this is a very underrated Japanese film that I want to recommend to you. It's Happiness of Us Alone by Chencho Matsuyama. This might be in the rare film site as well, I'm quite sure. But it's about these two people. One is deaf, the other is deaf and mute, and they marry. Yeah, this is a very kind of Naruse Ozu-esque film again. It's even starring Hideko Takamine. Yeah. But if you like directors like Naruse Ozu and even Misoguchi, you would probably love this film. It gets a bit predictable in the end, I think, but that doesn't really take anything away from it. Just a beautiful film that I need to rewatch myself. So yeah, I'll go with Happiness of Us Alone. Both are great movies. But yeah, I'll go with the rest more fast. Yeah, Harakiri definitely as it is a top 10 film of all time. This is very close as these are both like top 50 level, but I'll go with Sansho the Bailiff. Oh, this will be an interesting battle. Harakiri versus Sansho the Bailiff. Death by hanging. Um, um, oh, this is very difficult. I'll go with this Transient Life. Very barely. The Sword of Doom. Glad that there are these easier matchups here too. Um, then the Human Condition. Eros plus Massacre. Heroic Purgatory. Oh, it's two Yoshidas against each other. Um, Harakiri, but I think both of them are like top 10 sight and sound palette level of films. So yeah, Death by Hanging. Oh, well, the Human Condition, but it's actually very close. Heroic Purgatory. When I first watched both of the films, I would have gone with Eros plus Massacre, but when I rewatched them, we would just slightly lean towards Heroic Purgatory, but I think both of them are masterpieces. And Heroic Purgatory is the more difficult film out of the two. Harakiri, um, we're very close, very close. This might even be back to back on my top 20, but I'll go with the Human Condition. Um, so it's Kobayashi versus Kobayashi. If I went with which is the greatest, I would go with the Human Condition, but as I'm gonna go with favorite, I'm gonna go with Harakiri, but both of them are like top 10, top 15 level of films. And Harakiri is my favorite Japanese film, so yeah. But that's the bracket. Harakiri is the winner, just like it is in the Letterboxd 250. But that's obviously not the reason why I went with it, because yeah. But that was the bracket. Let me know which is your favorite film out of this bunch and what are your favorite Japanese films. You can leave a list of one film, five films, 10 films, 25 films, 50 films, whatever you feel like doing. I would love to hear your thoughts about anything regarding Japanese cinema or anything else you want to talk about. I'm always open for dialogue, as you probably should know at this point if you have watched my channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't drink all the coke. And sayonara. Arigato gozaimasu.